Among the flurry of tips for Tito ahead of the medium-term budget speech were a whole lot about small business. But the finance minister had little to say about what government is doing to help a key sector that will lead to job stimulation and creation. He did make this small, tiny mention, though. Well, of course, we do have the Minister of Small Business Development, Lindiwe Zulu, in studio with us. But first, let's listen to what the finance minister had to say.
We are determined to support greater economic development within townships and the countryside. Minister Zulu.
Minister Zulu, he says, obviously looking for you. Minister, that very small mention, most South Africans would say it's not enough. Are you?
It will never be enough until your small and medium enterprises find it easy to do business. It will never be enough until those SMMEs and cooperatives who battle for financial support do not have that support. However, I do want to mention the fact that the mention of small and medium enterprises, the focus on infrastructure development, in fact, all the program, the 5 areas that the minister mentioned as a program for the president, which was announced, and he repeated those programs, for me is where we have to look for opportunities for small and medium enterprises. It can never be enough, more so because the structure of the economy of South Africa and the opportunities which are supposed to be open for small and medium enterprises are not yet there. So as long as that hasn't happened, we are happy, of course, with the fact that the Minister of Finance is one who is actually very sensitive to the issues of small businesses, but more happy with the fact that the President, in particular, is very sensitive to the issues of small and medium enterprises, and therefore the entire government is sensitive to what we need to do to support small and medium enterprises.
Given that you say that, many people will say that they wanted to hear more from the minister about exactly how government is going to help SMEs, SMMEs in particular, but they didn't get the nitty-gritty of that, which is why we have you here to tell us exactly what government is doing to help small businesses.
Yes, the reason why he couldn't go deep into it, but also we must remember this is not the budget, this is the midterm. We are yet to listen to the Minister of Finance next year when he presents the 2019-2020 budget, and that's where we expect to see more. But that is beside the point. The fact of the matter is that as a Department of Small Business Development, we have managed to make each and every department of government to be conscious of the fact that the opportunities for SMMEs sit with them, and therefore they need to make sure that they open up those opportunities. Hence we sign transversal agreements with different departments. But further to that, we have just come out of the Job Summit. Part of what was discussed as a center was how do you create jobs. Part of a way of creating jobs is to make sure that those that are owners of small and medium enterprises are supported enough to sustain themselves. Remember that many of them, it says they collapse within 3 years of the start of business. And let me just put this point here. Small and medium enterprises, it's irrespective of color or irrespective of where they come from. Each and every small business, medium business, cooperative that is successful means there's more jobs that are being created. Then we are also going to the investment summit, and it's also very exciting for us as a Department of Small Business Development because we've not been left out. Usually when people talk about investment, they think about big investment. So we're saying, as a government, let us utilize everything that is on the table now. The minister says we are now walking to heaven. So hopefully that small businesses also are going to find the path going to heaven in as far as getting the support they need. We're giving as much support as we possibly can, and again I will repeat, it is not enough, and that is because of the demand that is out there. But creating a conducive environment, we are doing that as a department through ourselves as a department, all other departments. Trade and industry sits with incentives, for instance, for your black business suppliers. All departments sit with the opportunities, and I think that coming together, more especially when the private sector also recognizes the fact that they are not supporting SMMEs enough. Firstly, they are not creating jobs, as many jobs as possible. Government is the one that creates jobs. So it's about us holding our hands together and engaging with the private sector. Let's wait and see the announcements which are going to be made, for instance, at the investment summit. That's going to be very exciting also for small businesses.
You speak about the tough, big job you have as a department. Do you have enough money to make all of that happen?
Not really. And again, I must indicate the fact that unfortunately for us as a department, we were formed at a time when the economy wasn't doing very well. There are days when I say, if only we could have had this department some years back, many SMMEs would be very far today. But it's no use crying over spilled milk. We are here now as a department. Let me also tell you, it's not even just about whether we have enough money or we have enough people. It's about the coordination. Because if we had provincial structures, MECs for economic development and all other departments being conscious of the fact that they need to support SMMEs, you wouldn't have so much pressure on us. If at local government you had your local economic development offices also operating and functioning properly, the first point of call for SMMEs wouldn't be a Minister of Small Business Development, Lindiwe Zulu, in Pretoria. They would be able to be supported at level. That's why, as a department, we're saying, can we all be conscious of the importance of small and medium enterprises? Can we support them and give them the necessary opportunities, both government and the private sector? Because if you think about the private sector sits with supplier development, and it's a whole value chain. If they can also be conscious of the fact that many of the SMMEs, especially black-owned SMMEs, women-owned, youth-owned, they don't have the experience of other SMMEs who've been there for a long while. So if we can be able to coordinate together with the private sector, together with government, I think we can create a better environment for SMMEs.
So this is where your department plays an important role, because we've spoken to so many business entrepreneurs, SMEs, who say that there's so much red tape that they want government to get rid of. Most of them say it actually leads to the demise of their companies, this red tape.
Yes.
What are you doing to address this?
Red tape, the first thing that we have done, we have connected to all the provinces and ran workshops in all the provinces, because it's about the person behind the desk who knows how much time the turnaround for an SMME should be. It's about the turnaround time. Secondly, it's also about ensuring that they don't fill up 1,001 forms, taking too much time. Thirdly, it's about, if we say we're going to support you, let us be there for you on time and not come way later when you are almost collapsing. It's also about paying them on time. We keep repeating this over and over again. Government departments that do not pay SMMEs on time, we pay them on time all the time, 100%. If only everyone could also do the same. And by the way, that again, it's national, provincial, and local government. If only we can then just be conscious of how much they don't have the time. If we can be conscious of the fact that they making the business work for them. They're not government. They have to make their businesses work, and the only way they can make their business work is by us creating a conducive environment for them.
Well, isn't it time that you start cracking the whip on government departments that don't pay on time?
We have, actually. We've started doing that, and it's not me as a Minister of Small Business Development, because I don't have the capacity, nor do I have the authority to do that. But government...
But you have the power to speak to the President about it, given the emphasis he's placed on small businesses.
We have. Let me tell you what we have done. Through the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, there's already naming and shaming of departments that are not doing that. Through signing off in the performance agreement of your DGs and so forth, those that are not paying on time, now they're going to be named and shamed. And again, the trouble is, you talk about national, and yet a lot of the opportunities and where SMMEs are supposed to be paid is at national, provincial, and local government. And the private sector, by the way, we must also get into them because we also believe that they have an opportunity of shortening the time. They've got bigger pockets than government does. They also have to pay on time. I think that in the long term, South Africa must realize that in order for us to deal with issues of poverty, unemployment, and inequality, we can do that through supporting SMMEs and in making sure that SMMEs do not collapse.
Now, on Thursday, you're actually speaking at the National SMME Policy Colloquium that's going to look at how businesses, and small businesses in particular, should not be undermined and the importance they play in our economy. You know, some would say it's another talk shop because they've been waiting and waiting for action in terms of making sure that this is a reality.
We've got to keep on talking, because if you're not talking and not sharpening your interventions, how are you going to sharpen your interventions when you're not talking? How are you going to know how far people have gone when you're not talking? So the talking, unfortunately, needs to keep on happening, because these are the platforms where SMMEs themselves come and put their challenges on the table. We put the policy proposals on the table. We argue over what is best, what's best practice, and what's not very good practice. So unfortunately for us, and for those who think it's talk shop, this colloquium, for instance, it's not a colloquium that belongs to the department. It's a colloquium that we are in partnership with, and it has been happening since we were formed as a department, but it had been happening even before. This is a platform where SMMEs also have to influence the direction where government goes in as far as what decisions need to be taken. So we do have to have these conversations at all times.
And then two last questions for you. We have the Investment Business Summit on Friday.
Yes.
You know, are we going to talk about big business here at the summit, or are we including small business, which is, many would argue, the backbone of our economy?
Definitely, we're talking small and medium enterprises. We're looking for, let me just say, this is what we want to convince the investors about. They complain, for instance, about our BEE. They complain, for instance, about supplier development and all that. They complain about quality and all. Here is a platform where South Africa is going to be able to showcase to them that compliance is very important, because we've also got a history that we are trying to address. We can also make the compliance very easy for them if we work together. So we don't want people to be coming and thinking of investment only in the big projects or only in big companies. We want people to look at a small and medium enterprises. That's why that is on the agenda also as a topic, and we are fully participating. We've been participating in the preparation, and we will see. Lastly, it's not only just about international investors. It's about also our domestic investors. And when domestic investors are not investing, it makes it difficult for foreign investors to come and get into the country. But I think the announcements which you are going to be seeing there, which are announcements both by international as well as local investors, is very encouraging for small and medium enterprises.
Very quickly, the finance minister suggesting a small cabinet of about 20 ministers. You worried about losing your job?
No, I would never be worried about losing my job, because I believe that we've got to be able to understand when the economy demands of us to do drastic changes in our governance, we have to do that. And I don't think at this point we'll be worrying about position and post. For us is more, what can we do for South Africa? If it means we need to have a smaller cabinet, so be it, because that's just the environment as it presents itself.
All right, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
My pleasure.
We do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That, of course, was Minister of Small Business Development, Lindiwe Zulu.